We will take back our country. Together we will make America powerful again, wealthy again, healthy again, strong again, proud again, safe again. And we will make America great again.
I'm confident it'll be free and fair. I don't know whether it'll be peaceful. The things that Trump has said and the things that he said last time out when he didn't like the outcome of the election were very dangerous.
Well, we have exactly 31 days until Americans go to the polls and elect a new president. A lot can happen between now and then. And as the polls show, Harris does have a slight edge over Trump for right now. The Democrats, though, are bringing out the big guns in the final days of this election campaign, announcing that former President Barack Obama will hit the campaign trail for Harris. So what should we expect in the final months on the campaign trail? Let's bring back the front bench. Sabrina Grover, Gary Keller, and Gurdatin Singh. Sabrina, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think that Obama can do? Can he get Vice President Harris over the top on this campaign?
So I'm not sure putting him on the campaign trail significantly increases her win percentage at all or changes her dynamics. It's interesting because of how tight the race continues to be, even though Harris had huge waves in August, both of volunteer support, donations, fundraising, everything. She really came out with a big bang, but it hasn't carried through to pushing her ahead in the polls. I think what the Harris campaign needs to do, and I think better than Barack Obama even, is supported by, figures like Liz Cheney, I think, was campaigning for her today. Mike Pence has already said he's not going to support Donald Trump. I think it's interesting as they start to build the right coalition of voters and get those people to the polls and move key demographics, including women, including young people who are still, I think, concerned about the Israel-Palestine situation, and including ethnic voters. And so I think that if they can get those people motivated and get the right community organizers in those communities, less big splashy campaigns, more on the ground, door knocking, phone calling, making sure people are registered, that's, I think, going to move the polls and the favors in her direction.
Yeah, and Gary, we also heard that Bruce Springsteen, the boss, has come out in favor of Kamala Harris. But at the same time, when you consider some of those endorsements, like Obama heading out there on the campaign trail for her, I mean, a lot of U.S. voters felt disappointed by what Obama was not able to accomplish while he was in the White House. So could that be a reminder of sort of the Democratic letdown the last time Obama was in office?
I actually think it's intended to motivate Democratic voters who might not be totally enthused by Kamala Harris, who are unsure about her, to say, well, look, if Obama is pushing hard on and for her, we got to get out and vote. But Sabrina's right. We're now in the home stretch here. I mean, Canadian elections are 36 days. We've got 31 days to go, and we've been on a 2-year sprint, it feels here. So it's funny watching the comparison between the two. But, really look to where the presidential and vice presidential candidates are going in the next couple of weeks here. It's going to be those swing states. It's all that Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and how much time they spend there. Because I really do think it's going to come down to those states. Arizona to some extent as well. It's going to come down to those swing states, and it really is the ground game. Are you getting those people out to vote? Are you motivating them? Are you motivating those key voters that can deliver those states? And that's what I'm watching for, really, is watching how intensive the ground game is in those places. Trump had a pretty good ground game in 2016 in some of those places, and it didn't manifest itself as well in 2020. So watch for that in the next few weeks.
Gurdatin, do you think that the motivation is higher for Democratic voters or Republican voters when you consider not only the excitement around each of their campaigns, but, Republican voters may be looking at this and saying this may be our last crack at the can or the last kick at the can to put Trump in the White House. Do you think that that's a bigger motivating factor for them?
Well, it's interesting when you describe what is the state of the GOP right now, because there's an argument that there's actually a lot of mainstream Republican voters who feel disenfranchised by the takeover of the party by a very extreme far right. I personally think, though, that the Democrats are those who are truly motivated in this election, because what's at stake right now is not just crucial for America, it's crucial for the world. We have Trump, who has not only said he wants to be a dictator for the day, he is someone who is pushing an agenda of Project 2025, which is going to severely impact women's rights to choose, reproductive rights, is going to attack unions and workers' rights. It's something that is going to really push forward an extreme far-right agenda in America that's going to rob people of their fundamental rights and freedoms. Democracy is on the ballot, and I'm really hopeful that Democrats get out, vote, and make the right vote for Kamala Harris and Mr. Walz.
Sabrina, when you talk about motivating posts, take a look at this one. Donald Trump posted this on social media. It shows a picture of him after that attempted assassination. Picture of the former president with blood on his face and his fist in the air saying, "I'm coming back to Butler." So he's going back to the place of the attempted assassination for a rally. He's going to be joined there by Elon Musk. What do you think about that strategy by heading back to that location?
We think the thing about Donald Trump is that people are not going to be convinced anymore about who he is, right? I think the majority of Americans know exactly who Donald Trump is, and the people who are still deciding to vote for him are not being motivated by this, this idea that he's ludicrous or crazy, or like every day I see Elon Musk tweeting just the craziest things, or I guess Xing, I don't even know what we call it anymore. And so I think it's interesting that that's going to motivate the group of people that are already in his corner. I think what's important for Kamala Harris is to spend not that much time talking about Donald Trump. She needs to focus on herself, on her policies, and defining what the Democrats and what a Kamala Harris presidency looks like for Americans, because those undecided voters and the people who could still be convinced that she's the right person to be president need to know what they're going to do. So, the criticisms of Donald Trump and some of this craziness, I would leave that criticisms up to people like Tim Walz even. I think he's done a really fantastic job. He was great in the debate. People like Pete Buttigieg, even maybe like Obama. But I think for Kamala Harris, she really squarely needs to focus in on what she and the Democrats will do for Americans.
But Gary, what do you think is behind that move of going back to Butler? Do you think Trump is trying to rekindle some of that momentum that he had after that defiant moment?
He's absolutely trying to do that, re-energize any base that they might feel is flagging. Remember what he said as he was leaving the stage after the assassination attempt: fight, 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 right? He's going to, I guarantee you that will be a hallmark of his speech, that it's time to fight for what they stand on. And you're going to hear a lot more about the economic record of Biden and Harris. They think that's a really strong message for them. The cause of inflation, it's the same issues we have here at home: cost of living, affordability, food prices. They're going to use that "are you better off today than you were 4 years ago" argument, coupled with the Trump trying to enthuse his base to get out.
Gerton, just in closing here, do you think what happens south of the border will inevitably have an effect on what happens in government here, and how our government is seen, and how the potential campaign sort of moves forward here in Canada?
Undoubtedly, I think there's a huge impact of what happens south of the border and here. But I think what's more important is we can actually look to south of the border for a lot of inspiration as well. And I think the way that the Democrats have actually changed this narrative and actually pushed back against the far right, really disarming them with putting out the really clear fact that they're just really kind of weird. And the fact that they don't have that direct focus on the issues that people really care about day to day. We're talking about issues like focusing on affordability and focusing on your fundamental rights and freedoms, instead of trying to really encroach upon people's individual rights and freedoms with regards to organizing a labor union or your reproductive rights and more. So I think we in Canada can learn from that, and we can actually take tips from them on how we can push back against a far right-wing agenda in Canada that's increasingly dominating the right wing of our political spectrum as well.
Gary, we got about a minute left. I'm going to split it between you and Sabrina. So next comment to you here.
Yeah, I mean, everyone on the left side of the spectrum is going to want to try to use what's going on down south. Look, the Liberals are 20 points behind the Conservatives, and they have been for a year. They're begging for anything to change their their fortunes, and they're going to try all they can to try Donald Trump and Pierre Poilievre. They've already been doing it for some time. It hasn't worked because it's not true, but they're going to try to do it because in the Globe and Mail, they said they're going to have to beat the Conservatives. They're going to have to be nasty and vicious, and that's what we're going to see going forward.
Sabrina, last word to you.
I think it's really interesting because I'm not sure that Donald Trump Pierre Poilievre comparison has stuck or tends to stick. But if you look at folks like Danielle Smith, who last week said that the U.S. Department of State may be spraying chemtrails in Alberta, like that's the kind of person who I think that the left or the Liberals or progressives in Canada can start to actually hone in on, right? And I think John Rudstead has said some equally bonkers things. So when we're defining who is defining the right agenda in Canada and, pushing to the far right, I think we have to look at the right actors and use their words against them even.